He had everything. Fresh, original ideas with a beautiful tone and a superb technique to execute them cleanly and clearly. Who was Wardell Gray? Here on Big on Bebop. He was born Wardell Gray on February 13, 1921 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The youngest of 4 children, he spent his early childhood years in Oklahoma before he and his family moved to Detroit, Michigan in 1929. In 1935, Gray began attending Northeastern High School. He was then transferred to Cass Technical High School. He left in 1936 before graduating. Gray, as a teenager, started learning the clarinet. However, after hearing Lester Young with Count Basie, he was inspired to switch to the tenor saxophone. As a teenager, he worked in local bands. Gray's first musical job was in Isaac Goodwin's small band. Then he was hired by Dorothy Patton, a young pianist who was forming a band in the Fraternal Club in Flint, Michigan. After a year there, he moved to Jimmy Raschel's band, then to the Benny Carew Band in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In 1943, a young dancer who knew Earl Hines when his band came through Detroit in late 1943, she persuaded Hines to hire Gray on alto saxophone since there was no tenor saxophone job at the time. The Earl Hines Orchestra was not only nationally known, but had nurtured the careers of emerging bebop musicians such as Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker, most of who had left when Gray joined. Playing with the Hines Band was a stimulating experience. He left Hines late in 1946, settling in Los Angeles, California. His first recording session under his name was for Eddie Laguna's Sunset label. He was supported by Dodo Marmoroso on piano. The Date produced Easy Swing and The Man I Love. In Los Angeles, Wardell worked with Benny Carter, blues singer Ivory Joe Hunter, and then a small group that supported singer Billy Eckstine on a tour of the West Coast. But the real focus in Los Angeles was in clubs along Central Avenue, which were still thriving after the boom years. Here, Wardell played in after-hour sessions in clubs such as Jack's Basket Room, The Downbeat, Lovejoy's, and the Club Alabama. His early success in these sessions led Ross Russell to include him in a studio session he was organizing for his Dial label. In the Central Avenue clubs, Wardell held tenor battles with Dexter Gordon. Their fame began to spread, and Ross Russell managed to get them to simulate one of their battles on The Chase, which became Wardell's first nationally known recording and has been called one of the most exciting musical contests in the history of jazz. The success of The Chase was the break Wardell needed, and he became increasingly prominent in public sessions in and around Los Angeles, including a series of jam sessions organized by the disc jockey Gene Norman. There were concerts at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium, the Shrine Auditorium, and other venues. Outside from time spent with a small band led by Al Killian, Wardell was still working mainly in one-off sessions during 1947. Benny Goodman hired Gray along with Fats Navarro for a small group as part of his flirtation with bebop. The results showed a massive difference when it came to harmonic knowledge, with Gray and Navarro stating the song's harmonies brilliantly, while Goodman's were non-committal. Goodman's new group included the young Swedish clarinetist Stan Hasselgaard and initially Teddy Wilson, and it opened at the Frank Palumbo's Click Club in Philadelphia in May of 1948. The group was not a financial success, and Goodman eventually broke it up, but by now Wardell was established on the East Coast as an up-and-coming musician. For a while in late 1948-1949, he worked with the Count Basie Orchestra, while also managing to record with Tad Dameron and Al Haig. Wardell left Basie in 1949 to return to Benny Goodman. However, life in the Goodman Band became increasingly unpleasant for him. Goodman was not an easy employer at the best of times. On leaving Goodman, Wardell rejoined Count Basie. Basie had bowed to economic pressures and broken up his big band, forming a septet which included Clark Terry and Buddy DeFranco. Wardell was part of the Basie septet during 1950-1951. The only drawback to working with Basie was the constant traveling, and Wardell eventually decided to leave. In 1950, Gray played a live concert at San Francisco's Veterans Memorial Hall as a guest with Gerald Wilson's band. Gray can be heard in fine form during featured solo spots with small combo backup, Nice Work If You Can Get It, and Indiana, and also with Wilson's big band on the Blues Hollywood Freeway, where Gray trades exciting choruses with Zoot Sims and Stan Getz. It was around this time his recording sessions started to become fewer, though a live session with Dexter Gordon recreating the excitements of Central Avenue and a studio session with Art Farmer and Hampton Hawes, Gray became involved with drugs and it was taking its toll. He was still working regularly despite his drug problems, and when Benny Carter was engaged in May of 1955 to provide the band at the opening of the Moulin Rouge Hotel, Gray attended rehearsals but was absent when the club opened on May 25th. The next day he was found on a stretch of desert in the outskirts of Las Vegas, dead at the age of 34 from a heroin overdose. Few people have written about it. Bill Moody's book, Death of a Tenor Man, tells the story of a contemporary investigation of Wardell's death by fictional detective pianist Evan Horn. Teddy Edwards, who was on the spot, told the story that Wardell died in his hotel room after an overdose. His friends, working with a group of Benny Carter in L.A., wanted no police trouble, so they put his body in a car and brought it to the desert. Wardell Gray was a descendant of Lester Young, but came under the influence of Charlie Parker. He was known for his fluid and clean playing style, his melodic tone, and his ability to improvise. Wardell Gray, an awesome bebop tenor saxophone player.